Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let's Have a Pint. Today we have On Fleek from Stillwater Artisanal. And I have never had anything by them, so this is going to be brand new for me. They are out of Brooklyn, New York. It is a collaboration with, and I'm going to butcher the hell out of this name, Casita Cerveceria, which is out of Fontaine, North Carolina. It is an Imperial Stout, 13% alcohol by volume, 50 IBUs. It gets an average rating of 3.98 on Untappd. A 13% alcohol by volume Imperial Stout brewed with dark sugars and molasses. So it doesn't seem like there's going to be too much in this beer. I actually picked it up because I saw what it was. I was looking specifically for Imperial Stouts. And, like I said, it'll be my first exposure to Stillwater Artisanal. Artisanal? I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that, but Cask, Sweden. Gersten. I don't know nothing about them, nothing about this beer. I don't know if they're brand new to the state. They weren't one that got really highly touted as coming into the state. Like, the most recent one was Alaskan, which I was very disappointed in their lineup that they brought in. I do have a couple in the fridge, though. Ooh, that sounded good. I am excited to try their Kolsch Alaskan because I have never tried that before. But I've had most of their, oh my goodness, this is so thick. I don't know why I'm doing a soft pour. Alright, we got a very dark head on this one. It is very, the head is brown in color, mostly small bubbles. There's a couple of bigger bubbles in there, and I cannot see shit in there, so I can't see any bubbles coming up, but I'm sure they are there. I don't want to waste a drop. I don't know if I'm gonna love it, or I've never actually had an Imperial Stout I did not like, but I have had a fair few that I didn't love. Yeah. Well, what do we say here? 2 fingers of head. See, I can see bubbles coming up that are right on the side, but they're right on the side, and the only reason I can see them is because they're brown. Of course, coming right up on the side of a black beer, you're going to see it as long as it's not insanely dark. But yeah, look at that beauty. That's a fairly big bubble over there, isn't it? Yeah, like I said, I don't know nothing about them. Never had anything by them. My first venture into them is an Imperial Stout. Of course it is, I guess, their most rated beer. More people have had On Fleek that have rated it on Untappd than any of their other beers. Definitely get that molasses. There's a hint of the dark sugars in the head, but that head is very much molasses. I kind of appreciate that they're not doing like coffee, chocolate, vanilla, all that in here. Those do have their place, but not everything needs it. There's a nice roasty character from the from the malt, from them having been cooked the way they were. Yeah, that's all I get out of the head, and we've proceeded quite slowly. We're down to about a finger though, and we're gonna fight our way through it. Oh, before I do, I'm excited to try this. You've noticed something a little different. You saw when I moved the can. We're going to be reviewing two things. We're going to review this as we review this. I finished reading this like 2.5 weeks ago. I will say this, I already want to read it again. My son. I think he's getting into things he shouldn't be. Oh, we're now down to about a half a finger. That's still a full finger. Eh. That is a very big stout. The only thing with not adding other things, lactose, coffee, vanilla, chocolate, is it is not going to mask that alcohol. You're going to taste that alcohol, which isn't always a bad thing. There are times I don't want to, but right now I'm not opposed to it. Right up front, it's really sweet. You get those dark sugars immediately on the front of your palate. Then the molasses kicks in the middle, and then as it goes down, it's all overtaken by the alcohol. But you don't really get an alcohol burn. There's no real burn to it. It's definitely the alcohol, but there's no real burn to it. It's not complex. An Imperial Stout does not have to be complex. This is not complex. Okay, I thought she was going to jump at her sister. By the way, that weird noise you just heard, is their water feeder. Because we have 4 children. They all have, there's no way you can just put a bowl out or anything like that. If you were going to put a bowl out, it was going to be this big around, that deep, and that's just not something you can do. We have a huge ass thing. The thing on it is like this and that wide, and it's that wide the other way. That's how we have to get water, because otherwise you're literally gonna fill that 5 times a day if you just have a bowl out. Easy 5 times a day. It could be 10. They drink a lot of water. But the other noise you hear that you've heard in quite a few videos that you're hearing now, that's our AC unit. I am so sorry about that, because it is a lot louder in videos than what I even hear right now. But this time of the year I have to have it, otherwise I'll die. It's not too bad today because we had rainstorms all day long. So I think it got up to like 89, which is a lot better than what it's been. They knocked it out of the park though with this beer. 13%. I gotta slow down. But I don't want to. Now, what we're gonna do, put that right there so that's still on the video. Put that right there. So last night, Jenna Moreci posted on Facebook. It wasn't about the book. It was about her YouTube channel. And I made a comment on there, and I don't know why I made it on there, but no big deal. But I told her vaguely how I felt about the book, and she asked me if I could do a review of it on Amazon and a review of it on Goodreads, and I did those last night. I didn't do them when she when she commented on my on my comment. Words. Anyways, because I was in bed by that point, and I saw that she had said something. I didn't look, and then fell asleep. Woke up at like 11:30, and I looked at it, and I was like, all right, I'll do that. And as I was laying there, I was like, I'm not sleeping. So I did quick reviews on both. I haven't said anything yet on the post because I want to post this on my YouTube channel first, to do one better than that, because promoting this for her is very helpful for her, and as much as I've enjoyed it, I genuinely want to. We're gonna move that in front there for this one. I always love this scene at the top. But, you know, I was really enjoying it for about the first 100 pages-ish, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. You know, I liked it a lot, but it just, you know, if this, you know, is the worst it could be, and this is the midway point, it was here, and it just kept climbing. The further I read, the more I read, the harder it was to put it down. What was it? Was it right before my vacation? Yeah, and then I finished it on the first couple days of vacation. I finished it. But it was getting to a point where I was supposed to be going to bed at 8 or 9. Somewhere in there is when I vaguely go to bed. I was reading till 10, 10:30, 11. I couldn't put it down. It's so bloody brilliant. Like, I could count on one hand the amount of books I have read multiple times. Jurassic Park, the Harry Potter series. I mean, I would count them all together because it's hard to just go back and read one. I mean, you can, but you gotta get the full story. And that's really it. I do want to read Lost World again, the second Jurassic Park, but I haven't gotten around to it. I don't think there's anything else I've ever read again now. Artemis. I am making a video. Don't you talk back to me. You be quiet right now. I know that's very difficult for you. You take after your sister. Where was I? I remember saying that it was hard to put it down. But yeah, it genuinely was. It just got better and better, and you know, I don't mind romantic storylines. I don't think a romantic storyline's been done better than this was. I don't think there's been a story paced better than this. I don't think there's been a love interest storyline paced better than this. I say them separately because there is the main storyline of the tournament and going through the whole tournament. And then there's also the storyline of the forbidden love for the main character, who, I'm going to let you guess. These are all the competitors in the tournament. I'm going to let you guess which one is the main character. his actual name is Tobias. Hold on. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers because it's a brand new book. The only time I did a review on a book, and spoilers, was a book that's 30, 40 years old now, so I don't really feel like, you know, at this point, if you haven't read it, spoilers, get over yourself. You know, with that said, something that's 4 or 5 years old, I'm not going to spoil. But if it's 30, 40 years old, who cares? It was Pet Sematary. You've either read it or you've watched the movie. If you have any interest, you probably have done one or the other. But, this just seemed like... I didn't think about this till later, till afterwards. By the way, I didn't really think anything through for doing this video. But I thought about this later after reading it. This legitimately, without anything being changed, could be a summer blockbuster film. You know how they always have to have big action movies for summer blockbusters. This could easily be that without them changing anything. Now granted, they're gonna, because fuck Hollywood. They change everything. The only thing close was Lord of the Rings. And I don't remember when that came out, if they thought it was going to be big, or if they were just like, we'll do this close to the books, because the only people that are going to care are the people who like the books. And I feel like it was that, because nothing else, there legitimately has never been anything else that has been close to the books. Harry Potter went way off. Jurassic Park was decently close. Lost World Jurassic Park, way off. Anything else you could think of, probably way off. Lord of the Rings genuinely was close, and I would like to see... I feel like this will be a movie one day. And I'd like to see them stay close to what Jenna created here. And by close, I mean fucking stay with it. That's been the thing that's upset me the most with The Expanse. I got ahead of the show, and then it got ahead of me again, because I read up into where the second novel starts, you know, where the third season is, or where the second novel ends where the third season starts. But I read it right before the third season, so I was kind of up in front of it, up until then. Or I was with it. And then the third season starts, and I hadn't read that book. Now I'm reading that book, and I'm like, fuck, this is way off. But everything is that way. I want them to do this justice. I want them to do this like they did Lord of the Rings. Treat it like Lord of the Rings. Do it exactly as it is, as it's supposed to be. It is honestly probably my favorite book. I'm going to definitely say it's my favorite book. And it's fantasy. I love science fiction. Science fiction is where my heart is. But this is very good. Very good. This is incredible. Sorry, got interrupted there by a phone call. So I don't remember exactly where I was. But I definitely see this, honestly, one day being a film. I know what I was gonna say. Eve the Awakening. That was her first book. I genuinely like that a lot. I could read a second book, a third book, a fourth book. What I'm saying is, that should be a series too. But do a second one of this first. As much as I loved Eve the Awakening, and it's a very good book too, and I would highly recommend that as well, especially if you're into fantasy. I would highly recommend Eve the Awakening. It's more of a modern day fantasy, but very well done, very well written. This, I cannot tell. The only two critiques I have on this book, only two, I cannot tell what time period it is. Is it modern day? It doesn't seem that way. Is it 1,000 years ago? Is it 2,000 years ago? Is it 3,000 years ago? Is it 500 years ago? Is it 200 years ago? Is it a completely separate universe? Because it kind of seems like medieval time period. But I don't know. It's not mentioned, nor it doesn't necessarily need to be mentioned, but I was wondering throughout it, what time period does this take place in, or is it completely separate from our universe and nothing here has any basis on this? The other thing, I didn't necessarily have an issue with it. It played well in the book, so, but the tagline there is "Obey the Labyrinth." And I don't want to give away any spoilers. Nor am I necessarily giving away any spoilers. There's a lot of time in the labyrinth. There is. I'm not going to tell you how much, you know, when they come out, if they come out in this book, well, they do, because I'm having a tiny little issue with this. But at some point during this book, they come out of the labyrinth. And I feel like that was the best time in this book, honestly, was while they were down in the labyrinth. It was still incredible afterwards, don't get me wrong. But I loved the feel of that labyrinth. Where it was, I mean, it's not like they had anywhere they could go when they had gotten out of the labyrinth. But it just felt more ominous and more, you know, you're not going to get anywhere. You can't run away from this. Not that they could have, like I said, not that they could have afterwards, but honestly, overall, seriously, the best book I have ever read. I loved this to death. And I remember her YouTube channel is what got me into her, and I'm sure a lot of people got that way, or got into her that way as well. I picked up Eve the Awakening on a whim. I ordered it on Amazon on a whim. I was like, not really a fantasy fan, you know, I like A Song of Ice and Fire, I like Harry Potter, I like Lord of the Rings, but fantasy is not really my thing. But I also have, it's not out here, The Elven that I am reading. It's a German book that got translated into English. And I think we just got we just got the second one, which The Elven was translated into English back in 2004. This one got translated and released, well, I don't know when it got translated, but it got released this year. So, that's 14 years. I don't hold out hope on the third one. Just like I don't hold out hope on the 6th Song of Ice and Fire book. What I'm saying is, both books she's released, I would love to see, I mean, this one's definitely going to be a series. And also the way it ended. You're not going to end the way that this ended. I'm not going to say anything about the end. But it was a good ending to the book, and it just makes you go, where's the next chapter? What happens next? I want what happens next. I remember I read it, but I will say this. No, characters have never been so vivid to me. Like, You know, anytime an author describes characters, you know, I can picture them roughly how they are and everything. No characters have been more vivid to me than the characters in this. The main characters, the ones that you see the most, or that you see, that are in the book the most, were incredibly vivid. The most vivid. I don't know if it's necessarily the writing or that this just stuck to me. But characters in a novel have never been so vivid to me as they were in this. And that's what I honestly appreciate the most about this, is how vivid it was, how interested in each and every character I was. You know, and the bad guys, I hated the bad guys a lot. I hated them. But I loved them too, because they were perfect at what they were written to do and to be. Not partly to do with the big twist at the end, but Jenna, I want to know what happens. I don't want to spoil anything, but how many scenes were after that? 2 or 3? I think you know what I'm talking about here. I want to know, like, you don't have to say, obviously, I'll read it in the next book, but I really want to know what happens. What happens with that other character? You know, what happens? Because there's a couple things that happen that I'm not going to mention because people need to read it. But there's 2 things in particular that happen towards the end that I want to know. You know, and they happen in succession, basically. What happens? I know, obviously, that if you have read the book, that there's reasoning why one of those things might be null and void, but I'm still curious. I'm still a curious lad. Oh, I did pick a good beer for this. That was the thing I was thinking, because it is a beer channel, and we review beers on this channel. I was like, for reviewing this, I have to pick a great beer. Stillwater Artisanal, you delivered. Yeah. But, I can't say it enough, seriously. It is definitely worth the cost. The only reason why I'm not gonna read it again here soon is because I give myself a quota of books to finish by the end of the year, and I got way behind. I'm for anybody who hasn't watched a video before, videos where I've mentioned it, I am also a writer, and I try to prioritize that, because I'm like somewhere around 13,000, 10 to 15,000 words away from finishing writing my first novel in a series of novels that I'm going to do. But I have a quota of books that I have to finish reading, and right now I'm reading the 3rd Expanse. Then I want words. Then I got to read The Elven. Got to read the 4th Expanse. Got to read Praetor Moon from Neil Asher. I got to read Nemesis Games, the 5th book in The Expanse, and this one's going to be the bitch. I got to read A Storm of Swords, the 3rd one in A Song of Ice and Fire, all by the end of the year. That one's going to be a bitch because the other 3 sitting there will take maybe a month and a half in total for the 3 books. The Elven will take maybe a month. The one I'm currently reading, I'm about halfway through. Third Expanse novel. I think I said that just a minute ago. That, The Song of Ice and Fire, that's the longest novel in the series. That son of a bitch. It's gonna take me, fuck, I don't know how long. Probably 2 months. That's what I'm giving myself on that one, is 2 months. And I gotta finish all that by the end of the year. I can't count this as being read twice, because it won't be a new read. But I think early next year I am going to reopen this and read it again. It's that good. Like I said, I don't reread a lot of books. There's a lot of things I really enjoy and really love. Chronos Rising series from Max Hawthorne I really, really love. And I probably will pick it up again and read it one day. But that's going to be way down the line when most of what I have and most of what I want to read is in that read category instead of want to read. But to sum up, I honestly give this book 5 out of 5. 5 stars out of 5 stars. It is absolutely incredible. I think it is on Amazon for $22 for the physical copy. Let me look this shit up real quick. Because obviously, I prefer physical copies of books. I forget everything in videos. Even the title of the book that I'm reviewing. I say that's a pretty good... I don't know if that's just because I've looked it up before, but I've wrote in the save without the E. Or E. Without the I. So it's not save, it's savior. But it's the third result. Hopefully that means that's picked up a lot of traction. Because it's genuinely that good of a book. And I do sincerely hope Jenna the best. But I will say, if this doesn't become one of the biggest books since Harry Potter, that will just show how difficult it is to get ahead as a writer. How difficult it is to be a writer. And to be very successful. I mean, you can be successful to the point where you make enough money to live. But it's incredibly difficult for, like, you'll think, oh, well, this should be huge. Oh, it's probably not going to be. It's very difficult to do that as a writer. It can be that good to be that big, but it's probably not going to get there. Anybody who's a writer understands what I'm saying. So, okay, the hardcover is $23.99. It is honestly worth that. I don't remember what I paid for it. It is $6.29 for Kindle. If you don't mind virtual. But I don't care for virtual. I just like I like physical copies. So if I've made you curious, it's not on the book, I don't think. It might be in the book. But the description on Amazon for the book is Tobias Kaya, I think it's Kaya, doesn't care about the Savior. He doesn't care that she's the ruler of the realm or that she purified the land. And he certainly doesn't care that she's of age to be married. But when competing for her hand proves to be his last chance to save his family, he's forced to make the Savior his priority. Now, Tobias is thrown into the Sovereign's tournament with 19 other men, and each of them is fighting and killing for the chance to rule at the Savior's side. Instantly, his world is plagued with violence, treachery, and manipulation, revealing the hidden ugliness of his proud realm, and when his circumstances seem especially dire, he stumbles into an unexpected romance, one that opens him up to unimaginable dangers and darkness. That's the romantic storyline that I think was just incredibly done. But on the subject of the Sovereign, I think his character was beautifully done. I won't give away anything about the character, but I think his character was beautifully done. The twist was a surprise, but maybe shouldn't have been a surprise. But it was a good one. But I love Tobias's attitude. The only, and I looked at I didn't finish reading it, a review that just was somebody who hated this book. And they were wondering why Tobias was in the tournament. I remember reading that they were wondering why Tobias was in the tournament. He's got a very good reason. It says right there. But when competing for her hand proves to be his last chance to save his family, he's forced to make the savior his priority. Motive. That's all you need. You don't have to be going for what the goal of said tournament or whatever its tournament in this instance is. You can have an ulterior motive to do something too. It's not perfect, but it is an absolutely incredible book. No book is perfect, but I think this is as damn close as you're gonna ever get. And thinking about it, having read, instantly Israel is plagued with violence, treachery, and manipulation, revealing the hidden ugliness of his proud realm. I think the answer to my question earlier is this has nothing to do with our universe. It is a completely different universe. And thinking back to certain scenes in the book plays into that. Pretty sure it has nothing to do with this universe. I'm pretty sure it's just a completely different universe. But seriously, recommend this. If you want the physical, the $23.99 is well worth it. If you don't mind Kindle, $6.29 is a steal for this book, in my opinion. I mean, I know Kindle copies are vastly cheaper, but highly recommend it. Like I said, 5 out of 5 stars for this book. It is perfect. I'm surprised it only gets 4.5 on Amazon. This beer, this is how we close every episode. On Fleek. As much as I do enjoy simpler Imperial Stouts, because you don't have to have 50 million things going on in an Imperial Stout for it to be good. It's genuinely good, and actually the alcohol is pretty well hidden. There's no burn to the alcohol in the beer. But with that said, there's not a lot going on either. It's not a slight on the beer. See, I want to say 4 because I much more enjoy Imperial Stouts with a lot of things going on. But I'm going to probably say 4.25 because it is genuinely really good. And don't get me wrong, there is no pale ale, there is no IPA, there's no brown ale, there's no regular stout that I would choose over this. I wouldn't choose Coffee Bender over this, and I love Coffee Bender and rate it 5 stars. For the style and what Coffee Bender is supposed to be, it deserves the 5 stars. But every style is different, and they honestly get rated differently. I don't think there's a Pale Ale or an IPA I'll rate 5 stars. But it doesn't mean I can't recognize when something is an incredibly good IPA or Pale Ale or a Kolsch or I don't think there's a Kolsch or a Pilsner or a Triple that I would rate 5 stars. I don't think there might be some double IPAs I might rate 5 stars, because when you get into those bigger styles of beer, you can have more things going on, and it's more likely to be something that I would enjoy more. And I do try to balance it by what the style is. Like I said, there's probably not going to be a Kolsch or a Pale Ale or a IPA or something that I'll rate 5 stars. It might be, but it is much more difficult for them to get there. But like I said, I would choose this over Coffee Bender from Surly. Even though I'm not going to rate this 5 stars yet, I rated that 5 stars. That's not an Imperial Stout. If that was an Imperial Stout, I'd honestly probably rate... Actually, I'd probably rate it still 5 stars, because I'd be like, where the fuck is the alcohol? Because there is no alcohol presence in that beer whatsoever. But say they just added a shit ton more alcohol to it, probably not going to get a good rating. It's probably going to get a 3.5. But anyways, that's this review. Pick up this book. Go on Amazon right now. Pick this up. If you can find this beer, this was an incredible introduction into Stillwater Artisanal. Anyways, that's it for this episode of Let's Have a Pint. Prost.